All right. Now we're back with more happy news around the world as it pertains to Black History Month. And Black History Month brings out, it's almost orchestrated. This almost feels like it's by design. The way these different things come out during Black History Month. And we have 2 or 3 stories I want to deal with on this video. First is this story where a student passed out cotton balls to honor his way of honoring Black History Month. Passed out cotton balls. Now, I'm sorry, that just doesn't seem like something that the average student or person would do. It's almost like, do you have some type of suicidal dream that you want to realize? Like, are you suicidal? You don't know who you could infuriate. You set a cotton ball on the wrong dude's desk. You know, they might do something. Okay, they might do something about it. They might respond in a way that doesn't benefit your existence. But today is the era, this is the era of brain deadness, of complete lunacy. And this is February 23rd's edition and installments. Okay, now listen to this.
County School District is now hoping to turn a racist incident into a teachable moment at a middle school in Clayton. In fact, the superintendent believes the incident could spark some difficult but necessary conversations about race.
Now, listen, that right there, stop that, cut that out. Stop looking at any subject about race as difficult. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of people acting weak and just being goofy. There's no benefit at turning a blind eye to a problem. Yes, you better talk about it. If you're uncomfortable talking about it, you know what you should do? Talk about it until that feeling of uncomfortableness goes away. That's what you do. Do some exposure therapy, just like they do with dogs. Okay? If you have a fear of dogs, they tell you, well, you need to be around dogs until that fear goes away. All right, let's continue. This is goofy already.
Believes the incident could spark some difficult but necessary conversations about race. Here's NBC Bay Area's Pete Serratos.
Honestly, it's disgusting to me, you know, because children do learn from what they see. And I'm a firm believer of that.
Avina Farad is the mother of a student at Diablo View Middle School in
Okay, so I don't know, was it an all? How many black students were there? You see, they interviewed the mother of this is an Asian woman. She looks Asian. And the joke, or what was meant to be a joke, passing out cotton balls, that was a dig at black people. So I guess they couldn't find any black parents to interview. Like, okay, do they do this type of stuff in schools where there are no black students? I don't know. Because like I said, I thought that would be kind of risky, you know, black students, and you want to set a cotton ball on their desk? Really? So I'd like to know the makeup. I haven't even looked into it. This is a Contra Costa County School District. Okay. I have to look into it. I should have looked into it before I got started here. Let's continue.
And I'm a firm believer of that.
Avina Farad is the mother of a student at Diablo View Middle School in Clayton. She's still trying to process an incident that took place at the school last week. Mount Diablo Unified School District says a student was disciplined for passing out cotton balls at the school as a way of mocking Black History Month.
For this event was so wide open and so egregious that it
passing out cotton balls. You know how bold you got to be to do something like that? Even if there is, I mean, If there's no black students, then maybe I can understand it. Because to be honest, I don't know exactly how people interact with each other when there are no black people around and they are talking about black people. You know, black people is the subject matter, but there are no black people around. I don't know the energy or vibe in those types of circles. But if there was any black students, this seems like something that a person generally wouldn't try to do.
Really could have been used as an opportunity to create a safe space where students could talk about the harm that this caused.
Now, he's talking about turning this into a teachable moment.
As a way of mocking Black History Month.
For this event was so wide open and so egregious that it really could have been used as an opportunity to create a safe space where students could talk about the harm that this caused.
Dr. Adam Clark.
Talk about the harm that it caused. Don't you think they're aware of it? If they're passing out cotton balls, do you think they're oblivious to history, to details of history? That's not the impression that I'm getting. It sounds like a person who's well aware of history. And that's exactly why they chose to pass out cotton balls. And your proposed solution is to teach them some more about history? What do you want to, what else do we need to talk about? You need to make them understand that this hurts people's feelings. They know that. Don't care. You can't change people's hearts. There ain't no amount of education that's going to change the spirit of a person. And that's what we're dealing with. Spirits who have made a conscious decision to hate Negroes. Let's just face that. You want to talk about difficult subjects and facing up, and this is something people need to just come out and confess. There are a bunch of sick people in the world. There always have been, always will be. Stop acting like we can, force everybody into being a loving person with love or education. Stop that.
Was so wide open and so egregious that it really could have been used as an opportunity to create a safe space where students could talk about the harm that this caused.
See, he says that almost as if to say that if they talk about the harm that caused, then they will care. No, they won't. There are plenty of people who fully aware of the harm it caused. They don't care. Lord, this is so redundant, and it just feels like the behavior of a psychopath. Trying something that has proven to fail, but still trying over and over and over and over. Oh, it's bound to work eventually. Eventually, you just got to stop and try something else. That something else is our own state. That's the something else. Give white people their own state. That way, the type of person who passed out these cotton balls, they can move to that state. That way, they don't have to worry about Black History Month. They don't have to worry about nothing black related, period. They can stay and be happy in their own white country. And, there's no complaints. They have no excuses at that point. That's the solution.
Safe space where students could talk about the harm that this caused.
If you have a white state and you have a bunch of white people, there are no black people around, eventually, wouldn't they have offspring? Wouldn't the later generation of people be at an increased risk of not being racist? Because if there are no black people around, what do you have to complain about? If there are no black people in society for you to complain about, what you gonna say about black people now? How horrible they are for society? They're not in your society. So what you got to complain about? So these doofus people, these sick people, won't have nothing to complain about. And that might increase the chances that their descendants might not be so racist. Right? Let's experiment. Because right now we're trying the same thing over and over and it's not working. And we just keep trying. Diversity training and all this nonsense.
Dr. Adam Clark is a district.
And diversity training, no, we'll come back to that.
Superintendent. He says after the incident was brought to his attention yesterday, his office immediately notified parents about it via email. And today, the district took it a step further by bringing counselors from its equity department to the campus to discuss the incident directly with students in class. He feels just disciplining students doesn't address the bigger problem.
And so I want to make sure that the adults who are put in charge of students at these schools address these issues, turn them into teachable moments, because that is what we're here to do. We're here to teach. We're not here to punish. We're not.
My question is, what you gonna teach them? It sounds like they know everything. If they passing out cotton balls, they know a lot. So what you talking about? We need to stop this. This has to stop.
Because that is what we're here to do. We're here to teach. We're not here to punish. We're not the penal system.
Now, Clark says this is just one step towards creating a more inclusive.
Now, look, if y'all want to teach and you want to try to reform the hearts and minds of the people, hey, knock yourself out. But do that in a white state. I'm not going to depend on the success of you reforming their hearts and minds when the quality of my existence is being impacted. No, go over there in the corner and do your emotional reformation. Okay, I don't see this as a smart solution.
Environment within the district. He also says diversity discussions need to be ongoing in order to create lasting change.
Diversity discussions need to be ongoing. Diversity discussions. They do this with police departments. Diversity training.
Not here to punish. We're not the penal system.
Now, Clark says this is just one step towards creating a more inclusive environment within the district. He also says diversity discussions need to be ongoing in order to create lasting change. For Vina, she appreciates the district's efforts in making sure all kids feel welcome, including her own.
It shows that they actually care enough to make an effort in making this right.
No, ain't no goofy diversity training. If you gotta send people through diversity training so that they don't attack other races of people, that means that there's something being instilled into those people that's encouraging, motivating them to attack other races of people. Deal with that. You don't want to deal with that because you refuse to take racism out of media. You refuse to take it out of entertainment. You refuse to take it out of cartoons. You refuse to take it out of the adult entertainment industry. You want it to stay there. Without racism in these different things in society, in your mind, it's no longer the same. It has downgraded. No stupid diversity training. Again, if you need to send a person, if you need to go through diversity, I don't need no diversity training to not attack Samoans, Chinese, Japanese, Indians. I don't need no diversity training. I don't know what's wrong with you. When I see people of other races, I don't feel motivated to mock them, to disrespect them. The hell's wrong with you? Ain't no diversity training. Let's not talk about nothing like that. Let's talk about what's encouraging. Because listen, all of these racist people we're talking about started out as babies. They came into this world as little infants. And then they were toddlers. Then they were children. And this is the period where their perspective and thoughts started to take form. Change that. You don't want to change that. You want to keep your little racist sarcasm, your little indirect racism. You want to keep it all in society. Okay, because you want to maintain that status quo. You want to maintain a superiority complex in the minds of racists. And you want to maintain an inferiority complex in the minds of blacks and others who absorb those racist rhetorics or ideologies. unwillingly, but absorb them. Man, I don't want to hear nothing. People, this is nonsense. This is crazy people stuff. This is what crazy people do and say. And it's supposed to be our educational system.
We're not the penal system.
Now, Clark says this is just one step towards creating a more inclusive environment with it.
How ridiculous would it sound if I proposed to a beautiful woman, she accepted, and then the next day we go on a date, we go out to dinner, celebrate the marriage that we're about to have. And I lean over and I tell her that I've enrolled in a class that will help me to control myself so that I don't smack you around when I'm upset. I need to take a class to thwart my desire to slap you across the face every time you upset me. You may not know it, I haven't told you, but when I get upset, I slap people, male or female. Just as quick to smack a woman as I am to smack a man. So, dear, we're going to have to work through this. Now, what would you think? Wouldn't you think that the problem is not the lack of a class to help them suppress this desire? The problem is whatever instilled the desire to slap people in the first place that was instilled into you. That's the root of the problem. And people never want to deal with the root of problems. I'm tired of this patchwork. This ain't even patchwork. I don't know what this is. But I'm good on this. Keep your diversity training. And it's real bad because they put police officers through diversity training. And it's all a bunch of nonsense. You put a racist through diversity training, they're going to see that as humorous. Once they leave class, they're going to go around their friends and joke about it. Yeah, we learned that Negroes did this and we did this to them. And yeah, we did that. And, oh, and now I feel so sorry. Ha 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 ha, wink, wink. Get this goofy nonsense out of here, man. You know, we need more mature, confident, well-educated black males on social media pointing out this kind of nonsense. I'm tired of other people speaking for us. No, we can speak for ourselves. Got all this madness going on around the country. Now that story I just shared, that surfaced just a few days ago. That was just a few days ago. And here was another story. This surfaced yesterday. The Bexley teacher resigned after racist image shown in middle school announcements. Okay, now this surfaced yesterday. This is about the same Bexley Middle School incident. Check this out.
Students in Bexley holding a walkout today at the middle school. The students say that they're upset after a racist image was shown during announcements at the school last week. The students say it's important that they speak out to say that racism is not okay.
We did this in a couple hours, especially for us to be 7th graders, 13 and 12. So I definitely think it was hard, but we had teachers and we had support, so we pulled it off.
Man, that's one of the most well-spoken 7th graders I ever heard in my life. That was one of the most articulate 7th graders, not black 7th graders. 7th graders of any race I ever heard in my life. And this is what pisses me off. Because growing up in the world of racism, it subverts, it thwarts the natural intelligence of children. It does. Now, I don't know how many of y'all remember back in the 1970s, they discovered that black babies, their motor skills develops at an earlier age than the motor skills of other races of babies. This was discovered by white psychologists. They went over to Ghana or somewhere. They did some tests on black babies here in America, black American babies, and they found that their motor development, it started at a much earlier age. Like they would walk sooner at an earlier age, start to talk at an earlier age. They would recognize themselves in a mirror at an earlier age. Okay, so despite what people try to tell you, black babies have a head start. Intellectually, academically, they have a head start. They even said that black infants, on average, and it's a huge gap, would open their eyes sooner at a much earlier age. And there's certain stages with babies, like they'll get to the stage where they stare. You know, baby first come out the womb, they got their eyes closed most of the time. Then after a while, they'll start opening their eyes, looking around and blinking and stuff. And after a while, they'll look at stuff and look at people and just stare. They'll look in the mirror and just stare, understanding that they're looking at themselves. So they did all this stuff, do a whole bunch of stuff at an earlier age. They start off with a head start, and then later in life, once they start going to school and start to understand what racism is, they said black academic achievement starts to plummet. And it's directly related to the environment, the society they're growing up in. And they don't deserve that. They deserve the opportunity to go somewhere where their intelligence can flourish without being suppressed in any way whatsoever. Now, did we finish? I'm sorry, let me finish this. Let's finish this.
Out to say that racism is not okay.
We did this in a couple hours, especially for us to be 7th graders, 13 and 12. So I definitely think it was hard. But
this girl, 13 and 12, talking like this. She got control over her language on the level of an adult. Good Lord. Okay.
we did this in a couple hours, especially for us to be 7th graders, 13 and 12. So I definitely think it was hard, but we had teachers and we had support, so we pulled it off.
Now, the school has placed a teacher on administrative leave, and we'll have much more on the message from the students tonight on ABC 6 News at 11.
Okay. So that was, this story surfaced yesterday. The video we just watched, it surfaced yesterday. And the teacher has resigned. And what happened was they showed an image of an orangutan eating a watermelon. They showed an image of an orangutan eating a watermelon. Really? It's like, really? So 2023, you still got lunatics who get off on stuff like that. And again, I don't care what nobody say. Stop minimizing people's behavior. When I see people of other races, whether they be white, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Asian, whatever they are, when I see other people of other races, there is not a drop of blood in my body. There's no urgency inside of me to mock them, to mock their existence and what they are. There's no desire to mock their history and what their ancestors went through. If you don't have enough decency to keep from doing that, you're a sick individual. Not only that, maybe you're not the type of person to pull that off, to go through with that. Like the student who passed out cotton balls. Maybe you don't have that much nerve, but you might be the type to laugh at it. If you are the type to laugh at it, you are one of the sick individuals that I'm talking about. And we should have the option to not live, we should have the option to live in a land where we know that lunatics like you are nowhere in sight. That lunatics like you are not in the community at all. Not everybody is okay with living around a bunch of flaming lunatics like this. Also, lunatics like this, we should want them to go off into a space to themselves. Because there are plenty of white people who don't want to be around trash like that. And they also, some of them, might also appreciate a white state, so that these types of lunatics get the hell up out of here. People, I don't like the way good, decent people are so silent. We got to stop being silent. Stop being punked by low-life, degenerate dirtbags like this. We need to get up here and articulate just how much of a dirtbag these people are. And make it felt. Okay? Stop playing. These people don't have no type of authority over us. Now, okay, that story surfaced yesterday or something like that. This one surfaced yesterday. I hadn't even heard about this. This took place in Alabama. Okay?
Over what exactly can be discussed, along with genuine anger and outrage over historical erasure. This week, nearly 300 Alabama high school students walked out of class after what they describe as racism and censorship.
300 in Tuscaloosa. That's where my family from. My grandmother is from Tuscaloosa. I grew up going back and forth to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This is serious. 300 students walked out of school. This is affecting a lot of young people. Okay, they felt disrespected, they walk out. This is recent news, people. This ain't no ancient news. This article surfaced yesterday.
Of a Black History program. Alabama News also reports that students of Hillcrest High School, where 55% of students are Black, were told to focus more on current Black history rather than old stuff before 1970. Because, cue the dripping sarcasm, nothing noteworthy about Black people occurred before 1970. Not slavery or the Civil War, integration, and civil rights. None of that old stuff.
So, hey, shout out to the young people who saw how disrespectful that was. Wow. The administrator said that their Black History Month should not even mention figures before 1970. What? What? Wow. Well, this sounds like Black people should have their own schools. That's what it sounds like to me. That way you don't have to, you're not going to be no authority. You're not going to tell us what we need to focus on. There shouldn't be anybody telling Black people what they need to focus on anyways. See, this is what goofy integration does. It's goofy, people. Now, in a perfect world, it'd be like heaven. Trust me, every Black person on earth wishes that racism didn't exist. Trust me, we don't have no problem with people. I'm speaking for Black Americans. I don't know about, many other groups in the diaspora. Through and through, truly, we don't have no problem with people. We're generally fascinated with people. You know, we see the talents and gifts of other people, and quite often we try to replicate it within our own circles. You cannot count on, even with two hands, the number of black artists who have incorporated something from other groups of people and sort of, you know, ran with it. You got the Wu-Tang Clan, you got all kinds of entertainers calling themselves China and Asia this. We the only people who do that. Ain't nobody else in other countries calling themselves the black this and black that. They ain't even black. Black Panthers or it's fascinating. Okay, so they're just black people in America. The mind state that they have, to me, is one that deserves to be in a land of their own. Because like I said, human relationships are bad enough as it is. They really are. If there's an all-black state or an all-white state, there's going to be social problems in both states. People within the same race have a hard time with social relations. It's bad enough as it is when you totally remove race from the equation. But when you compile race on top of all of that, that's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for disaster. And I think it's irresponsible for a ruling class to not operate in the best interest of the social relations of the population. I truly believe that. Okay, now let's listen to a little bit more of this.
History rather than old stuff before 1970, because cue the dripping sarcasm, nothing noteworthy about black people occurred.
He said 1970. So in other words, he's saying, let's not talk about civil rights movement. Let's not talk about Martin Luther King. Let's not talk about Malcolm X. No black history before 1970. Okay, so what black history is he talking about? From 1970 to today. That's the only black history he's saying that we need to know about, which tells you what? There's a bunch of people who don't want to hear about our history. And they feel strongly about it. They don't want to know about it. They don't want to hear about it. So you know what? Those types of people deserve to live in their own little white state. Just like we deserve to live in our own little black state. Problem solved. You're in a white state. Now, what's your complaint now? You still gonna talk sideways to your school students? You gonna tell them what they need to talk about during Black History Month? You don't have to have no Black History Month. This is a white state. Have a White History Month. You ain't got to talk about, you ain't got to see black people no more. I know people are saying, oh, that's so wrong. Oh, separation. Don't divide the people. Don't divide the people. Whatever you do, don't divide the people. Look, sometimes dividing the people is the only way to bring peace. That's the only way to put a stop to the fighting. And this is nothing but constant tension. Constant tension. You're being irresponsible with how you handle this civilization. And you need to show more respect to the differences in human beings. Okay? Black people are different. We're different. And in so many ways. I understand we're similar in all these ways. You hear a lot of people say, oh, we're only different by 1%, 2%, whatever. That's a powerful 1-2%. Because we can easily distinguish who's black and who's white. So we're quite different. It might be a natural thing for you to allow those differences to flourish. Don't try to get rid of them. Don't try to erase them. I'm telling y'all, this country, it wants to get rid of all identities. They want it where groups of people can't really identify with each other. Basically trying to erase differences as if race or differences in general is a bad thing. Well, it is for powerful people who want to control the entire population. Yeah, you don't want them to identify with something or rally around something. You don't want them to have some type of reason or way or principle, ideology, whatever, that will get them to work together as a group. In this country, repeatedly, and I'm talking about to this day, I keep up with the many things that happens to black businesses around this country. To this day, there is a governmental entity that tries its best to put a cap on black growth and development. Once we get so independent, we start getting pushback even from our own government. Oh, you're building something in a black community. You're employing a bunch of black people. You're very progressive and your business is something positive. Let's send the FBI out to them. Let's send some agents among those people. Just wicked, evil people who have a problem seeing black people being constructive and positive and doing good things. Things that would move the country forward. Keep in mind, they bombed our business sector. For what? The hell would you bomb a business sector for? They didn't bomb the hood. They didn't bomb the ghettos. What lets you know the problem with us don't have nothing to do with how poor or uneducated we are. We're seen as a threat even when we get educated and start balling by a certain sect of wicked demons. And we need to have the option to break away from them on top of that check. Yeah, we're going to need that check. Okay, for this sick legacy of racism, in case you forgot, just happened to have robbed our ancestors for multiple generations of their wealth. Not only their wealth, but their minds. And we need to be compensated for that. We need to keep focus on reparations and not lose this momentum that we've built up. Momentum we've never had before. Shout out to everybody who was able to join me for this live stream, and I will see you on the next.